watching BBN Tonight on your official UK sports station, LEX 18.
Welcome back to BBN Tonight. It's been a difficult past 24 hours for UK sports, in particular for this football program.
Our Keith Farmer had a chance to talk with defensive coordinator Brad White just after we learned of the passing of John Schlarman.
Well, Coach, this is a day that we knew was coming, and yet it still doesn't make it any easier. Just your thoughts on the life of John Schlarman and the chance to work with him.
Yeah, it's obviously a really tough day here. But when you look at and you reflect on someone's life and you think about the impact that they've had, and for me personally, being here, almost 3 years now, to have met John Schlarman is a great blessing for me, because he was impactful in so many ways as a father, as a coach. I looked up to him to how the way he coached his players. You could see the respect that they had for him, and they reflected his attitude, his toughness, his grit, and so much of his warrior spirit was sort of overshadowed just how kind he was. Everybody knows how hard he fought cancer and how hard his offensive line plays in a game. But it was the fact that he knew everybody's name in the office, the fact that he knew your kids' names, that when he'd see it, around the coffee machine, he'd say, "Hey, how'd the game go?" And so he knew that your kids were playing a T-ball game. It was the man that he was, the way that he lived his life. It was never about him. He never wanted attention. He never wanted anybody to feel sorry for him. And that toughness, that he exuded on a daily basis, it made you a stronger person. Because if I didn't feel like, giving my all you had to do was look down the hall and say, "Man, stop being soft. Look at him. He's not complaining. He's not feeling sorry for himself. He's coming to work. He's got a smile on his face." One of my favorite stories, John Schlarman stories, I remember going into the break room and Drake Jackson was in there and he was grabbing a Monster Energy drink. And I said, "What are you doing with that?" He goes, "I'm just trying to keep up with Coach Schlar." And that was John Schlarman in a nutshell, is that no matter what he was going through, you better bring your A game energy-wise, because he was going to bring it. And I was just really, really fortunate to have the opportunity to be around him and to watch him be a father to his kids and a husband to Leanne. And it set an example for me in this profession, how it looks.
I mean, when you talk about him, and we heard a video that UK released, and every coach, every player, they almost say the exact same things about him. And to me, that means life well lived.
Well, amen to that. And it means it's true and it's authentic. That it's not, that it wasn't just for one person. That was how Coach Schlarman operated on a daily basis, no matter who you were, from top to bottom. Everyone was the same in his eyes. Everyone deserved respect. Everyone deserved a hello. And a life well lived.
So now you guys have to kind of transition to thinking about football at some point, and how do you get the players focused now in on Vanderbilt?
Yeah, it's a challenge. And I know you mentioned the players, but the coaches as well. And I think we've talked about as a staff that when you look at and you try to honor what John was about, it was about you live in the moment and you don't dwell on the circumstance. And what he'd want us to do is to focus on our responsibility and to honor him and to do him his life the justice that it deserves. And so I think our players will do a great job. I think our coaches will too. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of emotion. But we'll channel it.
Coach, I appreciate your time, and we thank you so much for sharing your insight. Because, you know, some of us were not as close to Coach Schlarman as obviously the coaching staff was. So thank you for taking that time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well said by Coach White. Great job by Keith for that interview. News of John Schlarman's passing drew immediate reactions from the Big Blue Nation on Twitter yesterday morning. Of course, there are too many tributes to mention, but some of the early tweets came from within the immediate UK family, including assistant coach Vince Morrow, offensive lineman Landon Young, and defensive end Josh Paschal, who himself is a cancer survivor. Coach Stoops offered this comment later in the day.
Throughout the day, the outpouring of support for John shows you the impact that he made on so many lives. We, as an organization, are doing our best to support Leanne and the kids and our team. John was so well respected throughout the country and in our community. It's hard to state the impact that he had on myself, our staff, and our kids.
On our next segment on BBN Tonight, we'll switch gears and talk about the UK men's basketball team.
Yeah, they had pro day last night. It was really our first chance to get a look at these guys. We'll talk about it next.